What if a bird can sense a force that your eyes, skin, and instruments from everyday life completely miss? And what looks like instinct is partly a quantum process unfolding inside living tissue. That is not poetic language, it is one of the most arresting ideas in quantum biology, a field asking whether life uses delicate quantum effects long enough to matter. Every year, migratory birds cross continents with astonishing accuracy, reaching breeding grounds, coastlines, and forests they have not visited for months and sometimes have never seen before. They can travel through darkness, cloud cover, and shifting weather, which means they are not relying on landmarks alone and may be reading something far more fundamental. In 2021, Jingjing Xu and colleagues reported in Nature that cryptochrome 4 from the European robin is magnetically sensitive in vitro, giving this strange idea powerful experimental support. The protein responded to weak magnetic fields more strongly than comparable versions from chicken and pigeon, which immediately raised a provocative possibility about migratory navigation. The leading explanation is called the radical pair mechanism, and it sounds almost too fragile to belong inside a warm living cell where collisions and noise should destroy delicate quantum behavior. Light excites electrons inside the molecule, creating paired quantum states whose chemistry may shift slightly depending on the angle of Earth's magnetic field and the precise spin relationship between the electrons. If the chemistry changes, even by a small amount, the retina could convert that invisible difference into a biological signal the bird can use. This would mean the animal is not carrying a magnetic compass like a tiny metal needle inside its head, but using chemistry to turn direction into information. It would mean the bird reads a pattern of probabilities, reactions, and molecular outcomes that depend on geometry, light, and quantum spin dynamics unfolding inside living biological tissue. That is why migratory orientation often depends on light conditions, a clue that biology and photochemistry are part of the navigation story rather than just ordinary magnetized matter. Researchers have spent decades testing orientation under altered wavelengths, disrupted fields, and carefully controlled laboratory conditions to see what breaks the compass and what leaves it intact. Again and again, the pattern points toward a system that is sensitive, angle-dependent, and deeply connected to light-driven chemistry rather than ordinary magnetized tissue. This is where quantum biology becomes so fascinating because the effect must survive inside wet, noisy, warm matter that usually destroys quantum coherence very quickly. For years, many physicists assumed such coherence would collapse too fast to matter in living organisms, and for good reason, because quantum states are notoriously fragile. But biology keeps forcing a more careful answer, first in photosynthesis, then in enzyme tunneling, and now perhaps in the magnetic navigation of animals. If birds really exploit quantum spin chemistry, evolution has done something extraordinary. It has stabilized useful quantum behavior inside a survival system shaped by hunger, weather, predators, and distance. That does not mean birds consciously understand quantum mechanics any more than your muscles understand biochemistry when you run, or your eyes understand optics when you see. It means natural selection may discover physical tricks long before humans build the equations, instruments, and language required to recognize what those tricks are doing. Mainstream caution still matters here because no single experiment has yet shown the full living compass in a migrating bird from molecule to behavior beyond dispute. Some recent results challenge parts of the story, and that is exactly how science should work when the claim is difficult and the mechanism is subtle. Still, the evidence has become strong enough that the quantum compass is no longer a fringe idea. It is now a serious scientific contender with real experimental backing. If that contender is right, then an animal crossing the night sky is solving a physical problem that still humbles human intuition. And that means the border between physics and life is thinner than it seems, because nature may be using the quantum world long before we learn to see it clearly.